Hi, and welcome back to Today Review. And today we're going to be having a special product. Greadio, like great and audio combined to spell Greadio, contacted me earlier this week to ask if I can review one of their products, which I happily did. So today we're going to be reviewing the Greadio CDX2A. Now, before we get started, I want to just mention a quick introduction regarding the reason I picked this item. They offered me to review a couple of different items, but I really wanted to review this kind of product in particular. Why? Because at the moment, you can't just go into a big store retail box and grab a cassette or CD player like they did before years ago. I remember going to Best Buy, Circuit City, and you would walk in and they would have like a row of 20 different versions from various different brands that just had a CD player, cassette player, or combined, or one of those boomboxes. Well, nowadays you don't have that opportunity. You either have to search online or either on eBay find a used one. And to tell the truth, sometimes yes, the used ones are good, but you end up running into situations where you have to fix some kind of item. Either it's a belt, it's some kind of capacitor or anything. So nowadays there are very few selections regarding what we have in order to actually pick a CD player or cassette player. So I was very interested to view this one in particular. Now, what caught my attention is, aside from the portable CD player and cassette player, is it also has AM FM radio, which is a great combination, but USB player, auxiliary, Bluetooth. It does offer you the earphone jack and AC supply, and of course it has portability for 6C batteries. So let's go ahead and take a look once more at the item. It's a white reflection. Again, it's a CDX2A. On the side over here, we have, of course, and this side. And here where we are offered with a few more information regarding the FM, AM, the dimensions, of course, and the weight. So the weight itself does run for about 3 pounds, which honestly, that's a really great weight. So this isn't necessarily so much of an unboxing, since I already previously unboxed it, but I wanted to show you the complete unboxing. And it comes really well packed. I actually lost the wrapper that the remote came in, so forgive me for that. But aside from that, this is really how it comes. It comes with a manual, which is pretty helpful. It comes with a nice card from Greadio also, thanking you for the purchase. It comes with a control, which, honestly, this is something that will come in very useful as we continue to observe. And it really comes with everything you need. It comes with the auxiliary cable and, of course, with the power cable. Nowadays, you don't really get that many options when you end up buying stuff, so it's nice to see that you actually have quite a few different selections or items that come in there to allow you to actually use your product completely. The packaging is well placed, it's well done. It came in a larger box also from Amazon, and I'll show you where you can review more of the products as well in the links at the bottom. Alright, wonderful. So here is the item, and completely taken off the plastic. So a quick view of it, I will say it is very nice. It's well constructed. One of the things that I saw right away was that it didn't have any kind of flimsy sections. It didn't have any kind of cheap plastics where you end up feeling right away that, like, oh, it sounds hollow. That's something that I really liked. So it comes with a spring-loaded CD case up on top, and it's so nice because it's smooth. One of the things that you can see the value of a product as well is the handle. The handle's sturdy. It doesn't drop down. Most items that are, you could say, of the cheaper value of quality, the handle right away just drops its weight. It doesn't have any restrictions. It doesn't have any something holding it. This one, it's nice. The antenna, the same thing. It doesn't flop down. You're able to extend it completely up, down, and it holds in place. One of the things that we'll view from the sides as well is the speakers are on both sides, which allow you for stereo input. We have the controls right here for function, repetition, volume down, volume up. We also have your normal stop, play, backwards, forwards, the IR scanner. We of course have on top section the pause, stop, eject, rewind, forward, play, and record. Now it's important that when you're purchasing an item that you understand where and how it's being played. So playing is heading that way. Some cassettes play this way, so when you insert a cassette, that's important to know. On the side we have the additional items. We have a physical tuner, which is very interesting to see, since I was kind of expecting it being a digital tuner, but this one in general actually comes out and plays a lot better because you're able to do a lot more of a sensitive tune compared to a digital, where you click it and then it kind of maybe skipping a specific channel that you're looking for. We also have your headphone input, auxiliary input, and the USB port. As you can see, this is a very well rounded off device, and of course that's a nice section too. The fact that everything is spring loaded and it's actually smooth comes out very nice and well played. One thing that I did notice is inside the heads on top section, and it has a little spring at the bottom to hold the cassette. We'll be reviewing a couple of items along the way, so let's go ahead and just really quick review what it comes with. It comes with the user manual, and of course, it provides you with some information and thanking you for the purchase of the CD and the electronics. We have a couple of items, the contents, very important tips, functions, of course, some important items regarding the laser, and of course, the functionality here. It's an in-depth view of what exactly it has. So of course, it runs down the numbers, as antenna handle, CD door, and of course, the tape pause button. It provides you with every single kind of thing that you would want to see in regards of what exactly the specific area and button are tied to. And of course, and once more for the remote, and as I mentioned previously, the remote is it's a good addition as well. We have functions for different items in regards to the different styles of audio that you want to listen to. Volume up, down, programming, previous, we have Bluetooth, and the rest of the file numerical. Now, their convenience regarding this is that the remote itself is useful when you're far away. So instead of going and running up towards it and manually selecting the button, you can actually just from a distance use this item. If I'm not mistaken, the remote with the item has a 20-foot range, so you're able to clearly use it from quite a distance. And once more, the information here regarding the functionalities of the remote. Right here we have, of course, all the other items, and of course the equalizer regarding and telling you what are the names. So we have, of course, jazz, classical, rock, pop, and of course, the letters regarding what it is it's going to show right here. And the rest of the information for the buttons. Now, as I mentioned, it does come with a 6 C battery port, and I already have that. And of course, with the AC port cable, it is a 110 to 120 volt. Now, it is also important that can only use the AC power voltage indicated on the manual by. And some additional interesting notes as well. There is something important that when you're using the batteries, you're not supposed to use the cable as well, so it's important that way you don't mess it up. In the inside of the compartment, you will find that I've already installed some of the batteries. So I have some EBLs 5000 mega amps as well, and that allows me to really use this as a portable device. It comes in handy when I'm moving it around. I've used it for a few days already, and I've tested it out, and I'm going to go ahead and share with you in detail, of course, the different features, and we'll go in depth on that. We'll go ahead and start off with the CD compartment and the CD features as well. The remote by itself works wonderful with the CD. All functions on the device work with the CD, so you can increase the volume, mute, repeat, previous, forward, as well, and it does have the option for a CD and MP3 player, CD as well. So you can navigate through the folders. You can program, equalize, pause the CD player as well, stop, Bluetooth won't function with a CD, but you can also navigate through the CD with these numerical functions. This comes in handy instead of having to forward so many times or backwards. You can just input what track you want to listen to and it'll grab it. We'll show you right now. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and show you. And of course, it comes with a nice little, there you go. I've burned on my end a couple of YouTube mixes. Now these are non-copyright, so we should have a good example of you viewing and hearing. So what we're going to do is we're going to push on, and this is one thing that I really did like. The fact that it has a powered screen is so beneficial. Why? Because if the lights are off, let me show you, you can still see what you're playing. So in this case, we'll navigate to the CD, of course, but we have the functionalities and it gives us a little screen which allows us to be able to see what we're doing. So I'm going to go and click function. And so the first one that you saw was Bluetooth. This one is radio. There are two radio symbols. You have the first one, which is AM. You have the second one, which is FM. And of course, you have tape for tape. You have auxiliary. And you have CD. After that, it's USB. And it informs you whether or not there's a USB or not. And back to Bluetooth. So let's go and navigate to CD. And we'll move the functions. You can also move the functions by pushing this particular button, as you can see. But in this case, since we have the remote, it's so much easier. And the CD is playing, has 10 tracks, and it automatically starts playing. So you don't have to necessarily wait for it to load and start playing it. It automatically does. So let's go ahead and hear from the beginning what the stereo sounds and the equalizing sounds as well. I'm going to go ahead and start navigating through the different equalizers so you can hear how the speakers sound. That's pop. Now, before we continue, I just wanted to remind you of what these symbols are. So what you're viewing right now on here is considered flat, classical, rock, pop, and jazz. So I'm going to go ahead and go through all 10 of the songs so that you can hear the different types of audio that are being played through the speaker and how it sounds with the different equalizers. Wonderful. So I hope you were able to view and hear the different types of sounds that are coming out through the speaker, and of course the way it sounds with the equalizers. I do want to mention and note that I'm not having the camera directly right in front of it. The distance that I'm recording at is about 1.5 feet, and the reason for that is because I want you to hear the music from a distance and not so much directly right in front of it. That way, when you actually do get it, you're not able to you can see the difference as well, so it's not super loud, it's from distance as well, and you can hear it clearly. As we move forward, I do want to go ahead and mention that we're going to go ahead and review a couple of, or not a couple, but all the full functions. So as stated in the title, this is an in-depth review of the CDX2A. Alright, so next up is USB. I do have to, I guess, give a disclaimer. The first USB that I inputted, for whatever reason, wasn't working properly. The device wasn't recognizing it. I found this other device, this other USB, and uploaded the same music, songs, files, and everything, and it worked. So you may want to just make sure that whatever USB you're using works properly with the device as well, and it'll clearly show you if it is reading. It'll of course provide you with a quick detail right here. If it's not, then in that case what's going to happen is it's going to tell you no USB, which we saw earlier. So I'm going to navigate to the section right here after CD. It's USB, and right away it starts, and it starts playing as well. I'm not going to go ahead and review the whole songs, of course, once again with the equalizers, but instead I wanted to share with you some of the features that we're able to see with this. So of course, it's not going to have the full functionalities as a CD, but it does still provide us with a couple of different items. Same thing with the CD. We had forward, backwards. We had, of course, folder 1, which is the main folder. Since it's an MP3 player, you can separate them into different folders, which is very awesome. That means that you can have specific songs in one folder and then navigate to a different folder and navigate it from there and continue it as well. Mute functions as well, and we have, of course, play, pause, stop, brings you back to the very beginning, and the other programmings. Now this one does provide you with navigating with the remote to what track you want. Since it's not going to be a CD, you don't have to worry about it loading. It automatically does it pretty quick. There we go, we navigate there. If I want to jump to number 8, or I'm sorry, 38, if you end up selecting the numbers next to each other, but in this case we'll go to number 6. Number 4, I'm sorry. Now one thing that I am going to note is that from CD to USB, it seems to be a bit louder with the same levels, so it must be also either some kind of the encoding direct audio from digital compared to physical. On volume 4 compared to CD, USB is a lot louder. And those are the items for that. Alright, so the next section that we have here, we're going to be talking about the auxiliary. And all you really have to do is connect the auxiliary cable on one end and the other side as well. You do have to make sure that you either have an appropriate sized input if you're having a case, or you might have to remove it. In this case, I had to remove the case from this particular phone because what was happening was I couldn't input the auxiliary from the top section. So just keep in mind, unless you have your own auxiliary, you're more than welcome to use that and input it there. Straight the sound for this one, we have another non-copyright song from Alan Walker, Dreamer, and I'm going to go ahead and start playing this. And what we're going to do is we're going to navigate directly on here with our functions to where it says auxiliary, And there you go. Now, this particular function right here on auxiliary does provide you with two different types of volume control. You do have your normal volume control from the phone directly, and of course you have the volume that's being inputted by the device as well. So you can use both versions as well. The issue here is that since it's auxiliary, it doesn't allow you to do so many different keystrokes with the remote. So with the remote itself, you do have your normal volume up and down on both phone and device. It is, however, limited to only the volume, the mute, the equalizer. It does not go back and forth on the remote. It's on the remote, and of course that's mainly just because it's only receiving audio input. So you are going to be limiting with that. Now that we reviewed that, let me go ahead and just, as I mentioned, volume up, down, and we have the mute, which is great. Honestly, that's a really great feature to have, even if it's auxiliary, just because you don't have to go to the phone and pause it. So if you're on a rush, just push pause on the remote and you're good, or mute, I'm sorry. So the next section that we're having here is Bluetooth. Now with Bluetooth, it's a pretty simple setup. You really just have to navigate turning on your Bluetooth, and of course navigating to the option here where it has for Bluetooth, and we should have, once you should have on your side, once you turn on pairing, it'll pop out right here and it'll be called CDX2A. All you have to do is just pair that device with the stereo and it'll tell you to pair it. Say yes, and it'll provide you with a nice little tune. There we go. That means that it was successfully connected. And now we'll navigate back to where we were at. Here's the interesting thing about this item is that you can actually have the auxiliary port connected and it won't have any issue since it's Bluetooth. And of course, we'll disconnect this. We'll go ahead and push play. And I will go ahead and control the volume from here. Once again, we do have different types of versions to increase volume, which we have directly on the phone. And we have the remote. For the Bluetooth, it is once again limited. You are able to use the volume up, down. You are able to use the equalizer, which is always a good feature. You are able to go back and forward, great feature as well. And you are able to use the play button to play and pause. So by aiming the remote at the IR scanner, you are able to successfully control the phone as well, or the device that's producing the Bluetooth. And as you can tell, right there, play, pause. Of course, you can navigate forward and backward. The one thing that I really did like about this particular device, and of course the Bluetooth feature, was that when you turn it off and turn it back on, it auto connects once you have the paired item here with the paired device. So you don't have to navigate to Bluetooth every time you turn on your phone to try and connect to the CDX2A. It automatically does it. Great feature, meaning you save so much time and not have to worry about anything. As we continue moving forward, well, the next section we're going to be talking about is the radio. Both both AM and FM work, and as I mentioned, you just navigate to here to the section radio, or RAD. First is the one for AM, and when you click function again, that's for FM. I am not really going to be able to provide you with full sound just because of copyright or any kind of audio that comes on and YouTube marks it, but I am going to navigate and talk to you about the different items, of course. The remote, you are able to still use it, but once again, it is limited to volume up and down. You are able to use the equalizer, and the great feature is you can still mute. So even if you're far away from the radio station and you don't like what you're hearing, you can always just mute what's on, and that's it. Now, moving on to the dial, the way to navigate isn't by the control. You do have to manually tune the radio station. I will say this is a great feature. That way you can actually specifically input what station you want. There is only one drawback, and that's that since it is a manual toner, if by any chance you move it or you accidentally touch it, it does remove where the station you're at. The other thing is, it's a good thing and I guess kind of a bad thing is it is pretty sensitive. So when you're navigating, you do have to be very careful how you're moving it. It's great when you're going forward full blast and backwards as well, but when you are navigating, just make sure that you're careful at where you're inputting the tone. The next item that we have here that we'll be reviewing is the tape. Now, I will say, I and my wife and my dog and my neighbors and our hamster and everyone else, we have a small collection of cassettes. It's not a huge selection, but it's enough that we would like to hear them once again. And as I mentioned previously before, you're not able to go into the store nowadays and purchase a cassette player. Of course, there are some if you go to Walmart. There are some if you go to Target or any other store as well, but they do have drawbacks. And aside from the drawbacks is you're unsure of whether or not the quality you're going to be getting is great compared to, of course, if you were to buy a used one from eBay. If you're looking at the old school 80s, 90s, maybe early 2000s, late 90s cassette players which were still being sold. But as I mentioned before as well early on in the video, you do encounter a situation where either the cassette head's not working, there's a capacitor in there, or there's some kind of situation that prevents you from fully using it, and instead you do have to use either external products to get it back to working. So we're going to be reviewing today's item with tape, which is awesome. I will say that it's awesome to know that I can actually use an old school tape on this brand new device and it functions well. Now, I will be using, for this demonstration, I purposely got an old cassette. This was, I guess, a learning English cassette, and I wiped it clean. And I went ahead and recorded some of the sound on here. Now, one thing that you want to do is when you're going to be recording is you do have to press the record button, and of course, it'll be going down. When you're done, just go ahead and stop eject, and you're ready to go. A really awesome feature that this device has in terms of cassette is that you're able to record from all functions. If you have a CD that you really want to hear on tape, you can go ahead and put the function in CD and start recording it. If you have a song on a USB and you want to listen to it on a tape, plug it in. As soon as it starts playing, press record. Same thing with auxiliary and of course with Bluetooth. The possibilities here are endless in terms of usability and recordability as well. So let's go ahead and see how it sounds. As I mentioned, of course, it plays this way, so we want to make sure that the cassette is actually in the proper side. So playing is going to be that way. We'll go ahead and push it, play it, and we'll navigate to tape. Now here's where we do have I guess a bump in the road, is that the remote itself is only limited to volume, mute, and equalizer. It's a manual function. You can't use the items here. Of course, I would imagine that there were probably some cassette players that were digital, which allowed you to do it. But in this case, the functions you would have to use to navigate to the cassette will be physical as well. So you will be using the play, fast forward, fast rewind, stop, eject, pause, and the functions as well. So for this, we just have to, adjust our volume where we want it and push play. You can mute it. Great function, as I said in previously with the auxiliary port and the radio as well. Um, as stated again, you do have to manually use the buttons to navigate through the cassette. But that's pretty much how all cassette players are, of course, unless there was an exception where it was digital. Regarding the cassette, so it can record from all functions. It does have the function to erase. Now, there is, I guess, like a tip for if you do have a current cassette player and it doesn't have an eraser head or anything. One of the tips that I would recommend is navigate to either CD or radio, lower down the volume completely, and press record. It'll record silent, it won't record any noise, and once it's completed, you're automatically ready to go ahead and start using it as an actual blank tape to record. Um, so it's a great idea in case you don't have eraser or anything like that as well. The sound quality is going to be limited, and this is very important. The sound quality for the recording of the tape is limited to one, the quality that's coming out from any of the functions, either radio, USB, auxiliary, Bluetooth, or CD player, meaning that if you have a song that's being played in a low volume, the tape's going to record in low volume, of course. That means that when the recording's done, you do have to increase the volume to hear it at an adequate level. Aside from that, if the song is distorted, the radio station is bad, that will also be recorded onto it. You are able to use equalizers function here, so at least that'll save you in case you are recording something that isn't the best quality. All buttons work great. I haven't had any issues while using it. You can stop, eject, you can pause, and of course remove it, play, record, fast forward, stop, fast rewind, and continue. There was something that I did notice, and that's that when you rewind tape, it doesn't have an auto stop. So you have to be aware of when it stops and when you're ready to play it. There are other cassette players that did have an auto stop. It was an integrated feature. In this case, this particular product does not. So whenever you're done recording, you'll still hear it, but it won't stop. You would have to stop it manually, which of course is not so much of a bad issue. It's not a situation where it's gonna automatically destroy the function of the device. It's a great function. It's just you have to be aware that you have to do that. Fast forward. And there you go. Here's something wonderful that I realized about this device is that the tape can actually still continue playing while all the other items are being played. And aside from that, one fascinating feature is that all of the options that you have here can be turned on, can be working, and you can navigate through all the songs and all the sounds. And I'll clearly show you right now. So we're going to go ahead and connect the auxiliary to the phone. Remember, my Bluetooth's already working. We're going to go ahead and input the USB. And of course, we have the CD player already. So let me go ahead and show you one of the wonderful features that this item has in terms of navigating through the sounds and music. In this case, this means that if somebody has a particular song that they're listening to, and then you really want to just make sure and listen to part of the CD, and somebody says, no, I want to listen to the USB, and somebody else says, there's a great tape in there, and when someone else says, hey, there's a song on the FM radio that I want to listen to, here we go. So we'll go ahead and navigate this section over here to the beginning. I'll go ahead and push play there. I'll go ahead and push play here. Sounds on, right? That's cassette. I'm gonna go ahead and do the function for auxiliary. It's playing from here. How about CD? Well, the CD will start working right now as soon as it starts loading. So once it loads, there we go. Function, USB, function again to Bluetooth once it connects. There we go. And I'll put it to the radio again, and we're back to tape. And all the functions are working. I loved this feature. This means that anyone can listen to it, anyone can listen to any kind of song or item that they want, in particular for, whatever connection port you want. What a great feature. That is a wonderful feature. Nothing stops playing, everything's always just inputted, and you can navigate as well through it. Now, there was something that I hoped you listened to, was that as we were navigating through the different options, sound changed. So it's important to keep a note of that, is that when we're going from Bluetooth to USB, CD, tape, or any other item, the sound will change. So you do have to just make sure to adjust it. This feature is related to the functionalities of where the sound's coming from, what volume you currently have in the different items or the different selections, so it's important to keep a note of that. Now we're going to go ahead and be moving on to not so much cons and pros, but things that I noticed that it's important to keep a lookout for. One is when navigating the volumes, I noticed that no matter what function we're at, if it's a CD or tape or any other item, there is a change in volume drastically. Well, I won't say drastically, but big enough that it sounds like it's skipping. So right here, we're going to start from 0 to 1. So I hope you heard that. One thing that I wanted to just let you know, that when you're going to be increasing the volume, specifically from 5 to 6, it does have a bigger jump. It sounds like it jumps one or two more volumes compared to where it's increasing gradually. From once you go from 5 to 6, it kind of feels like a bump in volume. It's not an issue. It's nothing to worry about, but just to keep in mind. Meaning that when you're trying to be quiet and you don't want people to hear what you're listening to, you might just want to make sure to keep a lookout when you're navigating from 5 to 6. Now, as I mentioned before, the power formats are 6C batteries and the cable. One thing that I do want to show is the battery status does not appear on the screen. It's a small drawback, nothing drastic that's going to affect the playback or the device, but a feature that I would like to see added to this device. I want to know where my battery's at. Are they very low? Are they dead? Are they in good condition? It may be difficult to include it in the size of the screen, but it would be a feature that would be beneficial in terms of knowing, hey, I need to go get my cable, or, I still have some time with the batteries. In addition, from here, continue with some features. These aren't cons or pros, they're just additional features that I wanted to talk about. When in Bluetooth and you select stop, it'll disconnect the connection or and the signal from the device to the Bluetooth, meaning that if you want to listen again to Bluetooth, you would have to just reconnect it. That's it. Great feature. If by any chance you no longer want to use a Bluetooth, just click stop and it'll disconnect the signal from phone to the device. Headphones, that's another thing that I wanted to add. They work great. I haven't had any issues sound wise, playback, sound, everything functions according to what it's supposed to with the headphones. Just keep in mind when you're navigating through the different functions, sound may vary, and of course what you're listening to, sound may vary as well. But aside from that, the headphone input was great. There is something to keep a note at. When I was showing you the different types of sounds with the CD player and we were using the equalizer, you will have to adjust either the volume, the equalizer, according to each song. There isn't any kind of drawback. It's not a con, but at times, depending on what song you're playing or at what volume, you do have to adjust it because it does sound a bit muffled. Nothing drastic. It doesn't sound like it's being covered, but depending on where you're at in terms of equalizer, volume, etc., it at times it does sound like the sound is muffled. Again, it's not a con. It's not a feature that's gonna prevent you from listening to the music. As you heard, it functioned properly. It sounded great. It was just something to keep point at. And the last part that once again, I really want to emphasize is what a great idea that it actually lights up. Uh, this is because there are other cassette players that don't have that feature, meaning that if you're playing in the dark or you're going to sleep and you want to change the function, you can't really see where you're at. So the light up screen is a really nice added touch to it. It allows you to know what you're listening to, what source function, what volume, and it continues from there. Final thoughts on this device? I would really recommend this. Not because Greadio sent it. I reviewed it. I was honest when writing my notes. Trust me, I had all these notes here. I just, you know, I was surprised that it was much better than what I expected. And I'm not saying Gradio's a bad brand. It's a really great brand. They have really great products. They have really great different types of audio devices. Of course, you have this one. You have another one that doesn't have the cassette player. It's more of a digital format. You have a CD player that they have. You have FM radios. You have a retro style radio as well with Bluetooth and all the other stuff. It's just, in my experience, I've had some bad, I guess, experiences with non-brand devices. What I mean non-brand is that your major brands are Sony, Panasonic, and the other items as well that had specifically created boomboxes or stereos with CDs, cassettes. So it's been quite a while that I actually heard good quality music and that it properly functioned. That's what I mean that I was surprised, that I was shocked that in 2023 we have a product in hand that actually does the job. It plays all the items that you can think of, from Bluetooth auxiliary to radio, AM, FM, CD, tape, and Bluetooth, and it does it well. It does it well. That's one thing that I do wanna give props to Greadio, is that the device does exactly what it's intended for. Um, I will say also, in addition to that, that um, it comes with a 1 year warranty. So if by any chance anything were to happen to it, contact the customer service. I've been in touch with the customer service. They're great. They answer all our questions. They've been very helpful as well. I haven't had any issues. They do have more direct communication with their Facebook page. Aside from that, the warranty information comes on the back, just to let you know. So it does provide you 12 months. And of course, it's from the date of purchase. So, continuing with the final thoughts, yes, I would recommend this. At times, they do have specials, so you will see the price change. The price that it's currently at right now, for being what it actually provides you, it's not bad. There are other stereos, boom boxes that, even the used ones that only had either CD, tape, and CD, tape, and radio, and they're still running pretty high. You can check on eBay. You might find one for 50, 70, $80. In this case, the price you're paying for is well worth it, especially because it includes the other functions. And as I mentioned before, it's well built. I mean, you don't have any kind of items here or sections that feel cheap. It feels good quality. It's sturdy. So yes, would I recommend it? I would, especially. Oh, sorry, I was playing around with. I had the remote. I would recommend it, especially because we're very limited nowadays as to how we could listen to some of our old audio. That's from cassettes, CDs, you know, CDs, I mean, especially cassettes. It's becoming a thing of the past, same thing like what happened to 8 tracks. Cassettes, you don't really find cassettes nowadays. Even the blank ones to record are expensive. So what you have right now, this device will help you listen to it. It will allow you to give new life to some of the cassettes you haven't heard in a while, and of course some of the CDs. Along with that, I do want to mention that, depending on how you take care of your device, it'll provide you long term enjoyment, but also um, by taking care of your device, you're also taking care of your tapes and your CDs. You don't want to jam in the CDs or crush the tapes in there. Be kind to your device, and the device will be kind to you as well. Thank you very much for staying for a very long and detailed review. I wanted to just make sure to review as much as possible. Greadio, thank you very much for sending me this item. I am humble and thankful that you contacted me. I would love to continue our partnership as well. And everyone else watching, thank you very much for such a wonderful time. If you stay to the very end, I send you lots of hugs and kisses. I hope you're doing well, and I will see you next time. Thank you and goodbye.